It's quite difficult to find true friendship. Rare friendships can occasionally form between two people, particularly if they have similar upbringings and traumas. Such was the friendship between Mickey and Rico. Our friendship would transcend all that is typical in our world of ephemeral bonds. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Growing youngsters in a low-income area, Rico and Mickey frequently played outside before school. These two youngsters were in the park with the elder lads playing soccer. The two little boys would take extra care of one another since some of the other boys were bullies. They would share food if they had any. They would support one another both emotionally and physically. Rico was raised by a single mom. His mother had passed away giving delivery. Despite his best efforts to be a decent guy, his father was ill-prepared to raise a child on his own. He put forth a lot of effort to provide for the family, but he didn't spend much time with Rico. The one thing Rico yearned for was his own soccer ball. All his father would ever say to him was that it was a money-wasting thing. There was always food on the table at least. Rico detested the fact that his father would frequently bring girls home. There was a photo of his mother next to his bed. Even though he never met her, he used to walk outside and search for his pal Mickey whenever the other women visited his home. He started to feel more at home in the streets than in his own house. Mickey, on the other hand, had a really difficult upbringing. He shared a tiny flat with his family in a sketchy area of town. The six-person family was likewise having difficulty surviving. There were several risky activities going on in the vicinity. It was risky to go outside in the evenings since the sound of police sirens was so commonplace. Mickey didn't really know his dad. His mother spent the majority of the day away from her job as a cleaner. She was worn out when she got home. In a place where the majority of youth drop out of school, the kids were mostly left on their own. Inside the school's walls, Rico and Mickey found some safety. The boys were able to attend school in spite of their parents' disinterest in or lack of support for their education, since attendance was free and uniforms were not required. Additionally, the school offered impoverished kids at least one meal a day through its food program. While Rico only wanted to hang out with his pal as often as possible, Mickey saw it as a lifeline. Over the years, Rico and Mickey's bond became closer. At 15, having been buddies since they were roughly 6 years old, they were now like brothers by blood. Mickey was an exceptionally intelligent child who did very well in science and math. This youngster was seen by a kind teacher at his school who took him under his wing. He would advise him to put in a lot of effort as he may end up a doctor or scientist. He went so far as to offer to tutor him for free after school. Rico would follow. Despite his lackluster performance in these areas, he would try to study as much as he could. The days he spent practicing soccer were the only times he was not with his companion. Having played the game on the streets of his neighborhood since he was a little boy, he was quite skilled at it. Mickey would always be supporting his pal during soccer games. He was Rico's closest friend and biggest ally. Rico would always find some cash and give it to his pal Mickey whenever he needed anything that he couldn't buy. Rico used his last bit of money to purchase his pal a new pair of sneakers when he saw Mickey's shoes were growing too small. Rico had to buy new soccer boots at one point. The truth of Rico and Mickey's challenging life was overshadowed by their camaraderie. They were going to become another statistic of underprivileged neighborhood boys who dropped out of school as teenagers. Their family's circumstances were not perfect. In actuality, the boys experienced emotional and physical mistreatment. Rico demonstrated exceptional selflessness. Mickey once skipped a week of school. Rico was inconsolable. He pleaded with the teacher to investigate after 2 days. Upon further investigation, they discovered Mickey was hospitalized. After he made a mistake, his father had touched him, breaking some of his ribs. While Mickey was still in the hospital, Rico would bring him his schoolwork every day after he made friends. Something terrible happened to the lads when they were about 16 years old. Rico's dad passed away in a mishap. Rico's sole relatives was far away, so he was forced to relocate. It was devastating to see these two friends part ways. The morning Rico moved away, these lads clung to each other despite the fact that most boys are taught not to cry. They made a lifelong friendship promise to one another as they stood there crying. Mickey received his soccer ball from Rico as a memento of him. That was the most valuable thing he had on earth. yet he wanted to give it to his one and only genuine friend. Mickey gave his friend a beautiful heart drawing he had drawn for science class, but he didn't have anything truly valuable to share. It brought up a really special memory of a day when Rico and Mickey went to an additional science lesson. They had a little celebration that afternoon, instead of working since the teacher had brought some pizza, and some of the sauce ended up on the sketch. This sketch of linked hearts perfectly encapsulated their bond. The brothers intended to stay in touch, but their paths in life diverged. Mickey continued his education and put in much more effort. He understood he had to work hard to earn a scholarship in order to follow his ambition of becoming a doctor. Rico made his home with his family, who helped him along the way and pushed him to pursue his soccer talent. Despite never forgetting his friend, he went on to become a top athlete at his new school. They were apart for some time. He wrote his pal some letters, but they were returned unread. He treasured the framed photo of the heart next to his bed and will always consider Mickey to be his greatest buddy. In around 10 years, Mickey was a prosperous physician employed in a major metropolitan hospital. He was a superb physician, particularly in treating fractures and sports-related injuries. His favorite place to work was the emergency department, where he frequently attempted to save the lives of accident victims. He was a modest man who was always aware of his origins. He also volunteered his time to assist the underprivileged who were unable to pay for necessary medical care. A little child was taken to the emergency room ER one evening, shortly before he was scheduled to end his shift due to a terrible accident. Mickey turned around to assist the youngster without hesitation. He needed surgery right away due to several fractures. There was hardly a moment to linger. Mickey fought valiantly to save the little boy's life for the next 4 hours in the operating room. Tired but grateful that he could save the youngster, Mickey asked to have the file given to him so he could write one more letter. Then he looked up to see something truly amazing. Meanwhile, a distressed mother and father were standing by in the hospital's entrance hall. Their son was struggling for his life despite the minor injuries they sustained in the accident. There had been no news for over 4 hours now. The idea of losing their only son was unbearable to them. He was on the verge of death, even though they had battled to have him. The father was also troubled by the fact that they lacked health insurance, which would have covered the hospital bills. He would give up all he owned in order to preserve his son, but he had no intention of making a payment. "Good day, Rico and Mom," greeted Dr. Mickey to the parents as soon as he entered the waiting area. "Mickey, your kid will be all right. Although several fractures needed to be repaired, every procedure went smoothly. This procedure will not cost you anything because it is my way of paying back an old buddy." Rico saw his boyhood friend for the first time, tears welling up in his eyes. He introduced Mickey to his wife, and the two of them hugged like it was the day their ways separated. His pal had shown him some rather unexpected gratitude in return. Few friendships are able to endure throughout time. Rico's generosity was returned in an unexpected and startling way. If you were moved by this tale, do share in the comments how it affected your life. Until we meet again. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.